Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Afenifere. Good morning, great Malabites.
Good morning, Ruben. My friend Ruben.
Why did you drag the Malabites?
Yes, because
that's how we call it.
Because he's a Malabite.
He's supposed to say action, action. So action.
Good morning, Rufai.
Morning.
The lovely Victoria Tundu MK Abiola. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Afenifere.
Yes.
I am not a Malabite. I'm a Funabite.
Yes. Let's start the newspaper review with these day newspapers as usual, Nigeria's newspaper of records. The lead story, Afenifere PANDEF back Fayemi El-Rufai insists on restructuring. Yes, that speech yesterday by Dr. Kayode Fayemi at the Arewa House, 50 years of Arewa House anniversary, which took place in Kaduna yesterday. The issue of restructuring, again, perhaps always on the front burner. But if you look at the Tribune, because Ruben, Tundu, and Rufai, you discussed this earlier, above the masthead of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, there's a different angle they are looking at this Arewa House meeting. Arewa House Parley. Any 2023 connection, they are asking. And they seem to believe that the subtext, we should look at the subtext than the real content of that paper. And I think there's more to it than meets the eye. Because when it comes to the issue of restructuring, many usually suspect APC administration and APC governors. Recall that ahead of the 2019 election, when restructuring was the issue of the day, the APC quickly set up a panel headed by Nasir El-Rufai, the governor of Kaduna State. And he himself and his team went around the country and came up with a paper. Thereafter, what next? Nothing. Nothing happened. So if anybody is looking at 2023 as the reason why El-Rufai, Dr. Kayode Fayemi coming together to put restructuring on the front burner once again, well, I wouldn't blame them for suspecting the motives behind that. But again, no doubt, restructuring is an issue that must be done. Why the president, according to Ruben, are averse, not necessarily just President Buhari, over time to issues of restructuring. Restructuring does not mean breakup, and I'm sure every president knows that. They are just shying away from the main issue of the day. But if we look at some other issues in the newspapers, the Punch newspaper, 7-month strike lingers as ASUU, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, government fight over payment platform. Government says 57,000 out of 71,700 lecturers in Nigeria already on IPPIS. Federal government only paying those lecturers intimidated to join government's platform, according to the union. Well, if majority have joined, whether it is as a result of intimidation or not, I think both parties need to come to a conclusion on this matter. But if you look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, yes, the lead story there is about electricity. Consumers kick as discos resume tariff hike. But above the lead story is a front page editorial, a front page comment by the Daily Trust newspaper, exactly on the federal government and ASUU, saying enough is enough. Because according to the newspaper, since March 9, 2020, there's this needless twists and turns and obdurate stance of both sides have elevated into a vain contest of egos. ASUU should please bury its egos. If 57, that is more than 2/3 of Nigerian university lecturers in public universities have already enrolled, I don't see what is the issue. Other issues can be resolved, but the government also has made it a part of its character not to honor agreements reached with ASUU. These are issues, but both parties should come to a resolution in the interest of the university system in Nigeria and for the sake of long-suffering Nigerian undergraduates who are at home and, of course, waiting to go back to school. The Daily Sun newspaper, as Nigerians lament, Police Service Commission sounds helpless over police churning of duties, says we won't force officers to return to work. Policemen have duty to protect citizens, lawyers, security experts. Now, the police are still off the streets in many Nigerian cities in the wake of the End SARS protests and the riots that followed, leading to death of some policemen and destruction of police installations and facilities. Vanguard newspaper, 428 federal ministries, departments, agencies can't pay salaries. Vanguard newspaper, please. Now, yes, 428 federal ministries, departments, agencies can't pay salaries. 2020 personnel cost exhausted, unable to pay salaries. Workers of Federal Fire Service, ECN, others plead hardship, threatening to stay off work. CEOs of MDAs must explain what happened, Finance Ministry official. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper, APC, yes, the ruling party, may slide into crisis over committee members' 2023 bids. Caretaker committee members accused of planning to hijack party. APC concerned groups demand raising National Convention Committee, yes, that committee, interim committee as it were, to run the affairs of the party and plan for the convention of the APC. According to this report, seem to have their personal agenda, members of that committee. If we quickly look at the foreign newspaper, the Times of UK, lockdown could last to next year, ministers warn. Restrictions will be relaxed for Christmas amid Tories' backlash. Of course, hopefully with a brief relaxation over the Xmas period. Michael Gove, the cabinet minister, has confirmed that the lockdown just announced, which will take effect from Wednesday in the UK, could last beyond December 2nd. So, if you look at the Financial Times, as a result of this lockdown, businesses demand support to survive new lockdown body blow. Move will cost jobs. Johnson faces story critics. Goves cast doubt on end date. Of course, business leaders who are feeling the pangs of the lockdown are saying the government needs to give financial support to crisis-hit companies as a result of this lockdown. In the USA, yes, in the USA, well, the New York Times quickly, key swing states set up showdown as race nears end. Tomorrow, voters in the US will go to the polls. Will it be President Trump for another 4 years, or Joe Biden, after 2 tries, becoming the President of the United States of America?
Well, El-Rufai, I would have loved to make additional comments on what you said about the lecture presented by Governor Fayemi at the 50th anniversary of the Arewa House and the giving out of awards. The subtext that you referred to, which I also referred to earlier,
yes,
had to do with the comment made first by the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence, who referred to Fayemi as a son of Ahmadu Bello. as a man who is considered the son of the North. And you know, at this time, when there's a lot of permutation towards 2023, that could be misinterpreted. And then also Governor El-Rufai.
Did you say misinterpreted?
Well,
or properly
contextualized differently.
Or properly interpreted?
it could be contextualized in various ways. And then, of course, when Governor Rufai spoke, you know, who was the host, he also talked about why the invitation to Governor Fayemi was quite deliberate. But the main issue, of course, beyond the subtext, was the lecture that he gave, where he talked about unfinished greatness and the need to make Nigeria great and to achieve its potential. And of course, he tried to break down the main issues in terms of how Nigeria can achieve its greatness, its potential, and how it can fulfill the promise. And he was talking, of course, about those key issues: federalism, restructuring, devolution, fiscal allocation. And as I said earlier, I think it's important for persons, interested parties, to take a look at that lecture and to look at the ideas expressed therein. After all, you know, restructuring is something so many Nigerians talk about. At the basis of all the agitations, whether it's #EndSARS or Amotekun, Regional Security Networks, or it is IPOB, or it is the Move for Oduduwa Republic, everyone else is saying at the end of the day that we need to take a look at the Nigerian Union. One of the references in the Fayemi presentation was an earlier essay presented by Professor Wole Soyinka, an essay titled, "When is a Nation?" And the question that we all continue to ask, is Nigeria yet a nation? If there is all these fault lines on the basis of ethnicity, of religion, and all of that. But I recommend that essay, you know, which I think is very, well, don't let me say that. I said earlier that I don't need to patronize Kayode Fayemi. I expect him to write well anyway. Now, you raised the issue about ASUU and the federal government. I think it is important.
Ruben, I wanted to put Tunde on the spot there.
Okay.
If you were to pick a candidate from the Southwest, will you pick Dr. Kayode Fayemi over Yemi Osinbajo, Bola Tinubu?
No, I don't want to speculate.
That is really
I am
putting you on the
asking
spot, Mr. Afenifere.
If you were to pick.
I plead the fifth on that one.
Yes. Well, the ASUU.
Yeah, ASUU and federal government, I agree with you absolutely that they need to sort out their matter because of the extent of the collateral damage. Look, it's not just about parents facing heartache about the future of their children. It's also about the future of the children themselves. We have children who have lost 2 years, almost, of opportunity to be educated. Some of them were in 200 level a year ago. They are still in 200 level. They are entering 2021. They will still be in 200 level. It doesn't make sense. A serious government will look at that and say, look, we have to break this gridlock. But ASUU is recommending his own payment template.
Ruben, and serious academics, we also have a rethink.
Yeah,
serious academics, we have a rethink.
Yeah.
If their students are in one spot for almost 3 years.
Employees dictating to their employers how they should be paid. The employer saying, no, you take it or you leave it. And then at the end of the day, all of us suffer. The biggest challenge, of course, is the devaluation of intellectualism, the loss at the level of research. I mean, I left the university because the university was shut down for about almost 2 years. And I got, drafted into active journalism because I've been writing. I tried again and again to go back. It's been so difficult. You know, and there are so many like that who ended up in other industries just because ASUU strike, you know, got them into other places where, again, they thought, well, I'll go back, but they never quite made that eventual return. Look at the major loss in terms of talent, in terms of, intellectual investment, even by the Nigerian state itself. So I think at this point, the federal government should take a second look at this issue with ASUU.
Well, I have to say, Mr. Afenifere, when you're right, you're right. You called this ASUU, debacle from day one, and you are completely right about it. It's sad.
And the university system is suffering for that.
Yeah.
Yes, most importantly for me, nobody wins in this war, you know, this show of power between, some will say, oh, the federal government, some will say ASUU. Nobody wins. Who suffers the most? The education of our children, the education of youngsters suffers the most in all of this. Nigerians have started to go to places like Benin Republic to get education, which is quite very sad.
On that note, that's all on the news headline.